What's going on, everybody? Welcome back into the FantasyPros YouTube channel. My name is Lucas Wenzel, and today we're going to be talking about 10 players on the waiver wire I am looking to stash ahead of this weekend's slate and ahead of next week's waivers as well. But before we dive into any of that, if you want your chance at winning a signed DK Metcalf Seattle Seahawks jersey, courtesy of our friends over at Pristine Auction, you need to subscribe to the FantasyPros YouTube channel right now and comment below on this video. That is it. That is all you need to do. We will be announcing a winner right here on the channel, so make sure to turn on those notifications so you can be alerted when new episodes are up and to claim your prize when we announce it. Let's start with running back Deion Jackson of the Indianapolis Colts, who's rostered in 28% of leagues. Right before the trade deadline closed on Tuesday, the Colts dealt Nyheim Hines to the Buffalo Bills, leaving Deion Jackson as the number one backup to Jonathan Taylor, who's still dealing with an ankle injury. Things have changed on this Colts team since Deion had his time to shine as the guy in this offense, but you can't deny how efficient he was both on the ground and through the air. He scored double-digit fantasy points in both weeks 5 and 6 and handled a 10-target workload as well. He very likely could have standalone value in this Colts backfield and is far and away my number one stash candidate of the weekend. I brought up Terrace Marshall's name last week, and lo and behold, he saw 9 targets on 93% of the snaps on Sunday, leading to an 87 receiving yards on 4 receptions. Those 9 targets were good for a 25% target share, and he is very clearly the number 2 wide receiver in this offense now. He's getting a ton of accurate targets as 16 of his 17 this year have been deemed catchable, and he's making the most of that, averaging 14.8 yards per reception, which is top 20 at the position. Looking at the schedule coming up as well, he gets Atlanta and Baltimore in 2 of the next 3 weeks, and for the fantasy playoffs, he gets Pittsburgh and Detroit in weeks 15 and 16. This offense could find themselves in pass-happy game script fairly frequently, and Terrace Marshall should certainly benefit from it. In case you didn't hear earlier this week, Jeff Wilson Jr. is now a Miami Dolphin. He was traded from the 49ers for a 5th-round pick and now backs up former teammate Raheem Mostert while also being reunited with Mike McDaniel. Jeff Wilson already knows this Miami offensive system, so he can immediately enter as a complement to Mostert since the team dealt Chase Edmonds at the trade deadline as well. He can clearly produce. We've already seen it this year. Double-digit fantasy points in 4 straight games when filling in for Elijah Mitchell while averaging over 5.5 yards per carry. We all know Raheem Mostert's injury history as well, and he was even dealing with knee issues prior to week 8. There could even be some standalone value here as well, but Jeff Wilson is a great stash now if he's still available in your leagues. Joshua Palmer is the Chargers wide receiver everyone has been targeting on waivers, but DeAndre Carter should be rostered as well. Not only will this team be without Mike Williams, but Brandon Staley said on Wednesday that Keenan Allen's hamstring hasn't responded the way that we hoped. It really isn't a long shot to think that DeAndre Carter sees a sizable increase to his snaps in week 9. Prior to the Chargers' week 8 bye, Carter played 94% of the snaps against the Seahawks while seeing 7 targets. He's played 65% or more of the team's snaps in 5 out of 7 games this year, so he should still be seeing the field quite a bit, if not more than usual. He even gets Atlanta, Kansas City, Arizona, and Vegas in 4 of his next 5 games. It's a nice stretch coming up that DeAndre Carter could certainly benefit from. It's no secret that this player should be stashed, but considering the uptick in workload he's seen in recent weeks, Rachaad White should be rostered in more than 30% of leagues. White has seen at least 7 touches in each of the past 5 weeks and 6 of 8 times on the season. More recently, they've gotten him involved in the passing attack with 5, 4, 4, 2, and 3 targets the past 5 matchups. Leonard Fournette's touches have been coming down as well. He's seen 12 or less in the past 2 weeks. The Bucs are coming off an extended week off since they played on Thursday Night Football in week 8, and they could make some tweaks going forward to how this backfield is managed. In the first week without Breece Hall, Tyler Conklin saw 6 receptions on 10 targets for 79 yards and 2 touchdowns. Now, I don't want to solely use this as a predictor of future success, but in the first 3 weeks before Breece Hall fully established himself as the focal point of this Jets offense, Conklin saw at least 7 targets and scored double-digit fantasy points in each of those games. He's still running a ton of routes for this Jets team, the 6th most at the position this year, and he's 5th in tight end targets. For how thin the tight end position is in fantasy football, if you have an additional roster spot to stash a guy like Conklin, I would not hesitate, especially if you're needy at the position for your own team. As good as Derrick Henry has been over the past 5 games, Dontrell Hilliard still should be rostered wherever Derrick Henry is managed. I'll just put this bluntly for Hilliard. He scored double-digit fantasy points in half of his games this year. That isn't to say he has standalone value, but he has at least 4 targets in half of his games, and we've already seen what kind of rewards can be reaped when rostering backup running backs. Deonta Foreman was a sneaky stash amidst Christian McCaffrey trade rumors, and now he's been a top 5 running back the past 2 weeks. That's not the promise I'm making you with Dontrell Hilliard, but it is the biggest reason to stash him in your league. Treylon Burks was mentioned in my weekend waiver stashes last week, and he makes the list once again this week because his roster percentage has actually gone down since. It's understandable, considering he likely won't be back until week 10, but as I've said before, part of stashing players is being proactive. This Titans team is still longing for an effective passing attack outside of feeding Derrick Henry 25 plus times per game. On the season, Burks possesses a whopping 1.86 yards per route run, and he has the talent to take over as his team's wide receiver 1 in no time once he returns. If you roster Najee Harris, then you absolutely should be rostering Jaylen Warren, who's available in 94% of leagues. Yes, the Steelers are on bye this week, but the last thing you want is for a league mate to get a jump on you and scoop him up before you can. Warren has by far been the more efficient running back than Najee Harris this year. He's 14th in true yards per carry, 9th in yards per touch, and 7th in yards created per touch. Najee Harris isn't going to just disappear, and Jaylen Warren won't just magically take over the running back 1 spot for the Steelers, but coming out of the bye, Warren could absolutely get more touches in an offense that's been struggling to put up points. This last player is a long shot stash, but with Rashad Bateman set to miss multiple weeks, Demarcus Robinson could step up and play a decent role for the Ravens. He's available in 95% of leagues and is coming off of an 8-target game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Granted, both Bateman and Mark Andrews left that game due to injury, and Andrews should be good to go in week 9, but we've seen Duvernay have some success as the wide receiver 2 in this offense this year. The matchups coming up aren't too shabby either against New Orleans, Carolina, and Jacksonville the next 3 games. Again, this is a long shot, but it's worth stashing players who can play decent roles on dynamic offenses. Alright y'all, before I get out of here, remember, if you want your chance at winning a signed DK Metcalf Seattle Seahawks jersey, courtesy of our friends over at Pristine Auction, you need to subscribe to the FantasyPros YouTube channel right now and comment below on this video. That is it. That's all you need to do. We will be announcing a winner right here on the channel, so make sure to turn on those notifications so you can be alerted when new episodes are up and to claim your prize when we announce it.
Thanks for tuning in to the FantasyPros YouTube channel. Don't forget to check out our featured videos. And while you're at it, make sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at FantasyPros, so you can get the latest news and updates to give you the edge you need in your fantasy league.